Am I the a-hole for saying no to my boyfriend's friend moving in? Plus mini update. Original post. Me 27 female and my boyfriend 29 male share a 2-bedroom townhouse together. That's small, but good enough for 2 people just starting. After I got home from work today, my boyfriend lets me know he told his friend it's okay for him to move until he gets back on his feet. He also let me know he told his friend he didn't have to pay anything towards bills. I currently pay 80% of the bills in the house, and I suggested he at least put money towards the groceries, as adding another adult will change the weekly budget. But then he lets me know that his friend's 4 kids will be coming to stay every other weekend. In our small 2-bedroom townhouse, mind you. So, I explained to my boyfriend that this greatly impacts our privacy. I explained as a nurse working 12 to 16 hours days, I like to come home and rest, and I value my home being a quiet place to relax. I also want to add that his friend is not homeless. He does have a place with roommates. He just doesn't like them. And he also makes more money than I do. So am I the a-hole for not wanting him and his kids move into our place? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Your boyfriend wants to have his friend stay but contribute nothing, despite having the means to do so. And he also wants the friend's children to stay 2 weeks a month? 4 of them? In a 2-bed house with both rooms occupied? How long before you get thrown out of your room for them? Or left to babysit them, feed them? This situation is gonna end in tears and serious fighting. You need to sit your boyfriend down and have a serious discussion about this. He tried to justify it as he would be saving to move into a new place, to leave faster. I told him no when he asked, and he said I was being selfish. I feel like I'm putting up my boundaries and wanting my personal space respected. Someone moving into your home is a 2 yeses, 1 no situation. Either both people are on board or it does not happen. Anyone who does not want someone to move in has full veto power. If your partner wants to be able to invite people to stay without consulting anyone, he should get his own place and wish to do that. My no would be non-negotiable, and I wouldn't even spend time entertaining arguments about it. The discussion would actually center around what made you think you could actually tell this person they could move into our home without consulting me first. For me, this would honestly be a crossroad in a relationship. I would be seriously reconsidering whether I can be in a relationship where the other person doesn't respect me enough to consider or consult me in major life decisions that affect me. The only way I would stick around is if he were genuinely apologetic, and if he accepted the responsibility of telling his friend no, and that he shouldn't have offered at all, without blaming me or guilting me. And I highly doubt that would happen. Also, why are you paying 80% of the bills? Sounds to me like he doesn't appreciate his own practically free ride and is offering it to others on a whim. I'd shut that down. Not the a-hole. This is absurd. Each detail you've given makes it even more ridiculous. Your boyfriend and his friend need to get a place together. Well, that was my exact thoughts. If my input doesn't matter in the home, then I'll find a new home where my input is the only one. He just made me feel horrible for saying no and being mad about it, so I had to make sure I didn't seem like an a-hole for saying no. The fact that he had the audacity to be mad about it shouldn't be making you question yourself. It should be confirmation that he doesn't respect you. You should be angry at him for offering without even consulting you. Yeah, Reddit always say don't say this, but I'd end it. Not the a-hole and confused as to why you would think you're the a-hole. Obviously, it's nice to help out your friend who's going through a rough patch, but if you're paying 80% of the bills, then it's basically your house. The fact that your boyfriend didn't even think to ask you before telling his friend that he could move in and have his 4 kids stay every weekend is insane. And his friend isn't even going through a rough patch. He could get a motel or something if things are that unbearable at home, or at least offer to pay half your rent, since he'd be taking up half the house. Also, if your boyfriend's friend thinks that 1 bedroom in a 2-bedroom townhouse is a suitable place to house his 4 children on a regular basis, then he probably shouldn't have any custody of them. Are they going to sleep on the floor? That's so unfair on those kids. Your boyfriend is an a-hole, and possibly gaslighting you if you honestly think you might be an a-hole for not agreeing to this, to be honest. And your boyfriend's friend is an a-hole too, for even considering asking his 4 children to sleep in some random person's small house on the floor on a regular basis. Well, at first I didn't think I was the a-hole, and then after being told how horrible it was, I wasn't willing to be more flexible, and sounding rude for not wanting to give up being able to relax after work, I felt bad and kinda selfish. Now for the update. I've read all your comments. I know I'm a horrible people pleaser, and my love language is to take care of people, and oftentimes it's taken advantage of. I currently live 5.5 hours away from my family. I didn't want them to worry by telling them what was going on. But I decided last night to call my sister and mom. I decided it's a blessing he found someone to move in, because now he has someone to help him pay bills, as mom said, so I can move out and not feel guilty he could end up homeless. I found a friend to stay with for my 2 weeks I'm going to put in at work. Then I'm going to be moving home. My parents are more than happy for me to come back for the time being. At one point, it was hard to leave because everything was in my name. Hydro, water, internet, and everything had to be paid off before I was able to take my name off of these. Believe me, I've tried to leave more than once. But being 5.5 hours from your friends and family makes it hard to ask for help because you don't want them to worry. My mom and dad are going to help me get everything taken out of my name. I know I'm an adult, but the only other place I rented was all included. So I have no idea how to get my name off of things, but no time like the present to learn. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend he is financially cut off from me and I will provide zero help if he buys a pug puppy? So this situation involves me, 28 female, and boyfriend, 27 male. We have been together for about 2 years and some change. We live together and split all the main bills, but the rest of our paychecks we keep separate and spend how we wish. Typically, this works fine, but despite him earning the same, sometimes more than me, he is not great at budgeting. He gets takeout almost every day, buys coffee out every single day, sends his god-awful abuse of mom money whenever she asks, etc., and I've had to help him out with money multiple times. But the real issue started when he brought up wanting to buy a pug puppy. Now, I work in veterinary medicine as the lead vet technician at my clinic and frequently see firsthand the suffering these dogs go through due to bad breeding and even just their breed standard anatomy. Plus, they are prone to so many chronic expensive health issues, and I've found over the years that no matter what the other person says, if you work in my field and they get a pet, a lot of the harder care aspects like medical will fall on you. And honestly, I find buying a pug at all to be unethical and something I'm not okay with. I certainly wouldn't be willing to bring them into my clinic and shoulder the responsibility, which I know would happen. I love my boyfriend, but this is a guy who thought neutering a dog involved removing their junk and even says he knows nothing about animals until I met you. Who is going to have to manage the situation when his dog has chronic allergic dermatitis/otitis or IVDD or one of the other million issues they typically end up having? Me. I already know it. I explained all this to him and he got quite upset with me for completely shutting down what he wants. I told him a small mad dog isn't out of the question. Just not a pug, or rather brachycephalic dog, and not a puppy. They are far too much of a time and effort commitment than either of us can provide, and wouldn't be good for anyone. I don't like to admit that I pulled the "this is literally my career field and I know what I'm talking about" when he kept repeating, "well, you don't know that," because yes, I kinda do. I am also not proud of this, but I told him if he did get the pug puppy, I would never help him out again with money, and I would give him zero help with a puppy, including bringing them into my clinic as an employee-affiliated pet for at-cost care, cheaper but by no means free, nor medication. He was pretty shocked when I said this and left our apartment to go cool off. And I guess he told our mutual friend because they told me via text that I was being a witch about the whole thing and must hate animals. All my coworkers agree with me, but I know they're obviously biased. Am I the a-hole? Edit to add, this mutual friend was his best friend before we started dating, and they became my friend too, or at least I thought they were. While what they said is horrible and not okay, I have a hard time believing my boyfriend actually called me that to him. Even when we argue, which is not often but happens, he has never used any language like that, or anything even remotely disrespectful, and I would not tolerate that. He is immature at times, but never like that. My clinic is actually part of his shelter. I talked at length with him about how we could foster one of the dogs from work who was compatible with us and our lifestyle. Size, energy, age, cat-friendly, etc. before adopting, and he was not happy with this. He also was not interested in mixes with pug who didn't have the extremely short face due to not looking like a pug anymore. That's when I got a little more forceful with my ultimatum. If we got a dog together, then I would be happy to take on the lion's share of things, like medical care, because this is a pet we got together and just makes sense. I got my cat before dating him, so my cat, and I've never asked him to shoulder any aspect of her care, other than feeding her if I was going to be home late from work or something similar. Have never had an issue like this before, so that's one reason I'm a bit lost on if I was really in the wrong or not. I appreciate all the comments a lot. I'll be in the comments, but I think this addressed the most common inquiries. Not a-hole. If you won't consider your professional opinion, backed up by even casual research, then perhaps drawing this boundary will make him realize this is not a capricious decision on your part. If he won't consider your professional opinion, then he doesn't respect you and what you do for a living. And he is playing the card of, I want what I want despite what I want being a really bad decision, so you need to get on board and make it work for me and support me. Foot stomp. Yeah, you found yourself a reasonable and thoughtful partner. I'm just flabbergasted that OP told him this breed of dog tends to suffer and become ill, and he's still insisting on getting one because he thinks they're cute. I'll be questioning the heck out of my relationship with someone who insists it's okay to contribute to the suffering of a living creature just because he wants to. Not a-hole. First of all, I 100% agree with everything you wrote about pugs. Second, if he cannot afford his regular expenses, then it is completely irresponsible for him to get any dog. Setting the boundary that you will not subsidize these poor financial choices is something you should be proud of. Your boyfriend is acting like a spoiled child, and anyone that calls you a witch is not a mutual friend. I love pugs. I have a pug tattoo, pug toys and books. Even my car has a pug-themed license plates. However, I don't own one mainly due to the medical issues they can have. It's extremely hard for me to justify owning one. Opie's not a-hole. She should reconsider this relationship with this immature reaction, plus involving friends to insult her. Not a-hole. Those poor dogs can barely breathe. Tell him to just do a little research, and he'll see you're right. Maybe show him some puppies on a shelter website, so he can find one of a different breed to adopt. Last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my husband to file a police report against my deceased father-in-law? My husband, male 30, and I, female 27, are preparing to buy our first home. We both work full-time, making above minimum wage, but not enough that either of us can get a home with our single income. Yesterday, in a conversation with a bank, we were informed that there are 4 collections accounts in my husband's name, all going back to 2018. Power, internet, and 2 credit cards. And after a few hours, we were able to link each of these accounts to his father's previous address. The bill is just shy of $6,000. After multiple conversations, we have realized the only way to clear this debt from causing issues to his credit rating is to file a police report for fraud. But his father died suddenly last September, and my husband doesn't want to tarnish his father's name and is afraid his family will look down on him for doing this, so he's on fence of how this will look if it gets out. I look at it differently though. We took a massive hit paying for the funeral, as father-in-law had no money and no life insurance. I know it's his dad, but we will be years recovering from the implications of this. None of the recovering agencies are willing to give us a bill paid in full, and even if we do pay his debt, we will lose the down payment we have busted our behinds to raise again over the past 7 months. We aren't even close to having the buying power we had last September because we only saved about half of our original down payment. So, am I the a-hole for asking him to make the police report? It's not an ideal situation, but how much more can Aleta's father's poor financial decisions in life impact our future, especially now that he's gone? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. My husband doesn't want to tarnish his father's name. The person who committed fraud and has made your lives very difficult? His family will look down on him for doing this. Even if they find out about it, do they want to pay off the debts? Yep. Anyone who says he's doing the wrong thing needs to pay the $6,000, plus interest it's costing OP, to not file the police report. If they aren't willing to be $6,000 down, then they don't have the right to complain. Tell the family they have 2 choices: put up or shut up. Not the a-hole. He tarnished his own reputation by committing identity theft and fraud. You're living and need your credit cleared. That guy doesn't care anymore. Don't bother telling the family. They likely will never even know about it unless you tell them. Not to mention the dad had absolutely no issue tarnishing the son's reputation and ruining his future when he executed the fraud. The father knew exactly what the outcome would be for his son when he did this. And it's unlikely this was the father's first grift. Opening up multiple utilities for multiple years isn't like one bad choice was made. He's probably done it to other people too. Edit. As some of you might have gathered, yes, my husband has heritage reasons for trying to honor his father even in death. And he is also a junior. He is an only child and was raised only by his mother. His father did not sign his birth certificate, but was a large part of his life. His father's estate has gone to probate court to be settled. Because of his accent and his dislike for confrontation, my husband actually had me speak to everyone yesterday. Collection agencies did not have our address or his phone number, which is why we have not even hounded. Everyone I spoke to has told me they have no success in reaching him since they acquired the debt. So no, he wasn't hiding something. He didn't know. We have had complications with the credit bureau for the last 3 years, trying to access my husband's credit report. We have had to go to the police station and show several pieces of ID, send in letters to confirm his identity. It took the banks to get us to do everything again to resolve the issue. Originally, we thought it was because there was no activity on his credit report. Now we know that at least one account used his father's social security number with my husband's date of birth and created issues. Finally, for those people who want to know what the price of my bad feelings are, I just paid $18,000 out of pocket to make sure this man wasn't buried in a cardboard box. I loved my father-in-law, and had he told us about his financial struggles, we would have helped him. This isn't even about the money. Yesterday, I asked every agency if they would just put paid in full next to the bill, and I would pay it off, and I'll save the money again. But they wouldn't take the collections office credit score. It's not 6 months worth savings that I'm concerned about. It's the 3 to 5 years that record can stick to his account, which will stop us from purchasing any time in the near future. Finally, my husband needed a minute, but he called me today at lunch and said he has to do what is right for our future. He is going forward with a fraud report this evening. Thank you all for the reassurance.